too much? It's too much. Do I care? Nope. Hi, I'm Kate and welcome to my channel. So today's video is featuring the new Glamlite and Mikayla palette, which is right here. It's so fun and pretty. I did pick up the first one about a year ago and I loved it. So when I saw the new one and I saw how green heavy it was, I knew I had to have it. The packaging is similar with all the glitter in it. I don't know, I could take it or leave it, but the inside is what matters, and this is beautiful. So comparing it to the first one, they do have a lot of similarities. I'm definitely gonna have to swatch and like compare a few of these shades. Like there are some similarities with the greens, there are some similarities with some blues and purples, so I am curious to see how those stack up against each other. But I do like how many greens are in this new palette, and it seems like a really fun variety of shimmers as well. I honestly don't remember if I did a video on the first one, but if I did, I'll link it below. Probably did. I think I did. So I will link the video with the first palette down below if you're curious in watching that. I think this will be 3 looks. There's just so much variety that 1 or 2 looks isn't going to do justice to the color story, but of course I have to start with the greens today. Oh, there's just some really fun, unique, I'm gonna swatch some shimmers. So I'm gonna start with the shade Glazed, which is like, I don't know, kind of a pure white shimmer. The shade Poppin' is also white, but it has a little, I don't know, kind of a green reflect to it. There's some really fun golds. This is the shade Glitta, and then I'll do Gold AF below that. They're really pretty. Like they're not the most interesting shimmers. Like when you've used a lot of indie shimmers, a lot of super sparkly duochrome, multi-chromes, they're not crazy interesting, but they do sparkle and they are pretty. The first Mikayla palette was the first time that I tried Glamlite and I really enjoyed it. So I know I like their formula. I think I'm just gonna dive right in. I'm all primed and ready and let's do some greens today. I do kind of work today, but it's with my school team. So like we're just gathering and doing some work together at a house. So I don't really care what my makeup ends up looking like, but I'm gonna start with the mint green, which is the shade 13. And I'm just gonna dip in, tap it off. Oh, I tap it on the palette and you can hear all that glitter moving. And I'm just gonna start to build that up right in the front here. I don't know if this is gonna be total monochromatic or if I'm gonna do like green mattes and pull in another shade shimmer. I don't know, we will kind of wing it. And I know I'll have to do a blue look and maybe like a more neutrally gold look. We shall see. So I either want to go into Fall Riva or Cody James. I think I'm gonna go into Fall Riva, that's all with the Boston accent. It's a really like bright Kelly green and I'm gonna start that right in the middle here and kind of drag it around. Again, I'm going super green today. All right, that's a really pretty shade. I didn't really start wearing colorful eyeshadow until about 1.5 years, 2 years ago. Kind of around when COVID started. I needed just like a creative outlet and I chose makeup. Prior to that, I had pretty much just worn like a little foundation, like a swipe of eyeshadow and then mascara. And now you can catch me wearing like bright green eyeshadow to a normal work day. So that's fun. All right, I'm dipping back into that first light green and just buffing out the edges of that darker green. All right, I feel like this is definitely gonna be bolder than I initially intended. I usually don't go up this high. I don't know why I went up this high today. So it's kind of a lot, isn't it? Oh geez. I mean, they're blending really beautifully, but oh, okay. Okay, now I think I'm going to go into the shade The Commons. Wow, that's a lot. That's okay. I'm not going to actual work today. All right, dipping into The Commons, which looks like a really deep, pretty teal. I like all the deep options in this palette compared to the first one. Like in the first palette for deep options, there was this teal, which looks a lot different than the teal in the new one. You have this purple that was fairly deep, and then this deep shade that like looks like a dark brown, but it's really like a burgundy. So it was hard to stick neutral and really deepen things up. But in this new palette for deep options, like you have a couple really deep greens. This is like a tealy green. You have a black, a dark blue, even deeper purple. So there's some fun options here. It's not a palette that leans itself neutral, which I don't need, so I don't care. But there is that black now. All right, so dipping into The Commons, I'm sticking this out here. This one takes a little more building, which is fine. I really liked, I I think it was the first look that Mikayla showed, which was like an all green eye look, and it was just beautiful. I don't have the skill to like pull that off, but that was beautiful. And just seeing the focus on greens really pulled me in. All right, so there's with the dark shade compared to without. Does it tone it down a little bit? I don't know. Gives it a little better shape, I think. We are bold today. I don't know why green has become my favorite, but it is 100% my favorite eyeshadow color to do. All right, I feel like dark actually toned down the look a little bit. I don't know, does that make sense? I'm gonna just buff the edges out. I didn't even put anything new on this brush. This is the brush that I use with the really light shade, but just kind of smoothing out the edges of that dark shade. I don't know, this is a lot. It feels like a lot. I usually don't go quite. All right, that's all I'm doing with the mattes. I'm gonna go in and cut the crease and I'll be right back. So there are some really fun green shimmers in here too. I'll swatch through those. So the first one is the shade, ooh, that's pretty, Dreams. And then Insane looks like kind of an antique-y greeny gold. I'm just gonna swatch them all. Grateful is a pretty deeper green, and then the Market is like a deep teal. I think that's all. So these are the green shimmers. That top one is really pretty. But I don't know if I want to go total like monochromatic today or not. I'm going to start with the Dreams shade, which is that bright, like a lime green. And I'm just gonna start to tap that out here. So I want the lid to brighten it up a little bit. I'm gonna drag it out just a bit. And then I'm gonna leave that front space open for one of those whiter shades. So I'm just following kind of the cut crease that I created. Do the same to the other side. Now the question is, do I go more gold or more white? I think I'm gonna go into the shade Poppin'. I'm taking that on a super flat brush and just putting it right in the front. And I'm gonna drag that into the green. Hi, honey.
That's so cool.
It's a lot.
Whom are you talking to?
The camera. It's a new palette I'm recording. What do you think? Is it too much?
No.
You sure? I'm gonna just buff out around the edges one more time. See if I can just tone it down a little bit. No, I don't think it's gonna get toned down. It's fine. I'm gonna go off camera and do all my face products and I'll be back to finish up with the eyeshadow. All right, I'm back. I went in with all my face products. I did change up my foundation routine a little bit. I've been using the Uoma foundation, which is a great like soft matte foundation. I love how it performs, but I've just been in the mood for something a little lighter lately. So I am dipping into the NYX. This is a tinted skin veil, so it's called Bear With Me. I have the lightest shade, which is Pale Light. I love this. It goes on like a foundation, more than a skin tint. Like I can push it in with my sponge, but the finish is really nice and really natural, and my other products still sit on top of it beautifully, which sometimes with more skin tint type foundations, I'm having issues with the Fenty one lately, which is one of my favorites that I've repurchased many times, but for some reason my products just aren't sitting well on top of it. But with this one, right now they're working. I think it just depends on the time of year and how my skin is, but this is a great one if you want like a nice skin tint. I don't even know if it's still available, but I did go in on the waterline just with a black liner, and I'm ready to dive back into the eyeshadow. So I'm gonna start with the darkest shade that I used, which is the shade The Commons, and I'm just gonna pick that up on a brush and I'm gonna start to just kind of pop that under the lash line, more on like the middle to outer part of the lid. I'm not gonna drag that all the way through. I'm gonna connect it to the same shade that I have on the outside. Just kind of like that, nice and easy. I'm gonna grab a little bit of a fluffier brush and I'm going in with that first lightest green, which is the shade 13. And I'm going to buff out the edges and drag this one through to the front. Just buffing out that first shade. We don't want any harsh lines here. And then I'm gonna bring that shade all the way up through the front. So I'm gonna go in with the shade Poppin', which is that front shade I used. I'm gonna use that as an inner corner shade. It's a really loose packed shimmer. I'm just popping that in here, dragging it under a little bit. With this palette, like I almost grabbed, not the whole collection, but I considered grabbing the smaller palette, which was a very like green and neutral focused palette. And then I almost grabbed the little highlighter palette. However, I am not like a unique highlighter kind of person. Like I use my same highlighter every day. This is from Makeup by Mario. You can see I have a nice dip, but it's just a very simple highlighter. Like there's no special shifts in it. And I'm very much in the phase of my makeup buying that I'm not buying things just to try them out. Like I'm only buying things that I'm pretty confident that I'm going to enjoy and use a lot. I only grabbed the palette because I knew that this is something that I'm going to get a lot of use out of and a lot of enjoyment out of. So that's why this is the only piece of this collection that I have. I'm not buying a lot lately, so yeah. I think I'm all done with the eyeshadow. We're bold. So I think once again, I'm gonna go off camera, do some eyeliner, little mascara, and I'll be back. All right, I'm back with the finished first look. What do we think? It's bold. It's definitely bold, but I like it. I love greens, so of course I'm gonna like a green look. I did go a little bigger than I normally do. And maybe if I did this look again, I would probably just bring the shadows down a little bit. And if I were wearing this look out, I would probably pair it with some lashes. But I'm not gonna put lashes on to go sit and do paperwork for a day. So I don't know what I'm gonna dip into tomorrow, if I wanna do like a more neutral gold look. Like there is kind of this olive green and black and some really fun golds. There are some really fun blues as well, maybe something purple and blue. I don't love purples, but like some of these look really fun. So I don't know. I, again, will just kind of wing it as I go, as I usually do. But this is the first look, and up next is look number 2. All right, I'm back, day 2. I honestly don't even know what direction I want to go today. Maybe blues. I don't do a lot of blue. There are some other shimmers that I'm interested in using. Right now, those bottom 2 are most interesting to me, and then I think tomorrow I'll do something a little more neutral with the gold. So I guess I'm going kind of blue today. I don't know if I'll throw some purple in there too. I haven't really decided. I will see as I go what happens, but I'm already primed up and ready. Let's dive in. So as per usual, I'm going to grab the lightest shade and just throw that all over the crease as kind of a transition. So this shade is No Hash Lines. It's kind of a sky blue. It's a nice, pretty light blue. I think I'm gonna try to keep this like down a little bit compared to yesterday's look. Yesterday's was a little much for me. It was still pretty, don't get me wrong, but it was just a lot. And I do know I kind of tend to do the same shape where I do, you know, lighter to darker, but I am kind of boring when it comes to my makeup. Not in terms of colors, but in terms of like variety of looks. Next, I'm gonna go into the shade 2021, which is the blue right next to that first one. So these are all just in the bottom row right now. And I'm gonna kind of put that in the crease, just underneath that lightest shade. Kind of pull that all the way across and blend it into that first shade. So I'll have to find something blue to wear today. Okay, so there's that. Do the same to the other side. So I'm kind of trying to figure out which of the 2 palettes I like better. I plan on filming a video in the near future of like if I could only keep 1 palette per brand. So I've figured out all of the other brands that I have more than 1 palette from, and this is the last brand that I need to figure out. And I only have 2 palettes from Glamlite, and they are the 2 Mikayla palettes. So had I done this like the first day of getting this one, I probably would have said part 2 for sure because of all the greens, but I'm honestly not sure. Like I'm realizing I do love the greens, but there's definitely not the variety that there was in the first one. Like there's so many blues, so many purples, so many greens, and that's kind of your options there. So I don't know, I honestly don't know. So it'll take working with it for a couple days here for me to really decide if this one overtakes the first one for me or if the first one kind of still holds strong. The darkest blue in the palette is the shade Wicked Awesome. So I've been using these 3 down here, started there, here, and now Wicked Awesome. I'm gonna focus that more on the outer part, but I might drag it through a little bit just to help with a cut crease look. Probably what I will still do today. So keeping that just down a little more than the last shade. So there's a nice blend between the 3. I don't do a lot of solid blue looks. Like I like blue and I'll incorporate it into looks, but I honestly don't do a lot of just blue. Blue eyeshadow makes me think of like the 80s, but I think there's ways to make it more modern. So hopefully that's what this will feel, not like an 80s blue look. Or even like when I started trying to wear eyeshadow in like the late 90s, it was like a little dusting of baby pink or dusting of baby blue when I was in like junior high and not allowed to wear makeup yet. All right, so those blended together really well, really easily. I think I'm gonna dip into that first really light blue one more time and just kind of buff it out. And it's funny because this shade is called No Harsh Lines, and I'm using it to avoid harsh lines. I think a reason why I usually like avoid fully blue looks is I have blue eyes, more gray blue I think, but I just think it looks kind of funny. Like it just doesn't look right. The blue eyeshadow doesn't enhance my blue eyes, whereas like more orangey tones and neutrals and browns does enhance. And the green I feel like enhances, but I don't know. So now the question is, do I want to do a little bit of black just to like darken that outer corner? And I think I will. So the black is called the Blackest Black. So we'll see if that's true. I'll tap it off. I want to go in pretty light. I never go in too heavy with a black shadow, because once it's there, it's typically kind of hard to blend. But that's actually blending pretty easily. It's always a good test of a palette that has a black, like how good is the black? Because black seems to be a shade that's really hard to formulate that really works well. I do have a couple like really good blacks in my collection. I would say Melt has a really great black in the Gemini palette. Kaleidos has a really good black in the Sci-Fi Green. Black Moxie has a really good black in their Potion palette. Beautiful fall neutral leaning palette. And this is actually a really great black. Blending out, seems buildable. All right, I think that's where I'm gonna stop with the mattes. I'm gonna go ahead and cut the crease and I'll be back to go in with some shimmers. All right, so I went ahead and cut the crease. I know it's technically a half cut crease. I'm gonna go back into the black and just blend it into that concealer that I laid down. All right, and now to pick out the shimmers. So the shade Cloud 9 is up in the top corner, and this looks like a really pretty, I don't know, maybe black based shimmery blue. And then the shade down here, I Love You. Those are the two that are really calling to me the most. So I'm gonna start with Cloud 9 and just pop it out here and just tap it in. It just looks really shimmery and pretty. And it definitely matches the look, blends into the black nicely. Do the same over on the other side. So there's that first shade. And then I think I'm gonna use a flat brush to go in with that lighter blue. So this is gonna be a very monochromatic look, I guess. But all right, so I'm going into the shade I Love You with a brush. Follow that cut crease. Man, this is super blue. Oh, I feel like these shadows almost apply better with a brush, whereas I feel like usually with shimmers, the finger gives me a lot better impact with like the sparkle, but I think the brush actually works great with these. You do have to like dig into it a little bit to get the shadow on the brush, but they apply really nice. They aren't like the most sparkly, but they're pretty. All right, so there's that. This is really blue, like super blue. Trying to keep it less bold today, but I feel like I say that in every other video I make, that like trying to go a little subtle and it just never happens for me. I mean, it's hard to go subtle with an all blue look. Tomorrow will be a little more subtle. So I think I'm gonna stop here with the shadows. I'm gonna go in with all of my face products and I will be back to finish up with the shadow. All right, I'm back with all my face products on. So I think I'm gonna go in and try to lighten it up a little bit. And I'm going to go into the shade Glazed, which is this white shimmer. And I'm just gonna kind of top it with that. I feel like I need to tone it down a little bit. I mean, I know I do go pretty bold to school and to wherever, but this is just so dark. So I'm just gonna put that white shimmer on top and just try to brighten this look up a little bit. I don't know if you can tell a difference. Here's with some of the white, here's without. In person, it definitely makes a difference. It does just brighten it up. This is another one of those really soft pressed shimmers that goes on really well with a brush, which is great. I don't mind using my finger for shimmers, but it's nice when a brush works well. All right, so that brightened it up a little bit. So going in on the lower lash line. So again, I typically do pretty monochromatic looks. And really my only options are green, purple, or blue in terms of the mattes. So should I try to pull in a little purple? Because honestly, I'm not gonna do a purple look tomorrow. I don't do a lot of purple looks. So I guess I'll try to pull it in on the lower lash line. So I'm gonna start with the darkest purple, which is the shade Authenticity. And I'm just gonna start to build that up on the lower lash line. I don't know if this will really go together, but again, just trying to at least use some purples in this video. This is a really pretty purple. It's a really deep shade. And this is definitely like a darker palette than the original, which I like that for the dark matte options, but I don't know, maybe I like the variety of the first one better. Because really with this one, it's purple, green, or blue, which I love green. Green is my favorite, so I love the variety of greens in here and I love the tones of green. I just don't know that the purples and blues are really me or what I needed. I don't know. I guess I'll find out as I play around with this. Okay, so that looks a little crazy. I'm going to go into the lightest one, which is this shade right here, the lightest purple, and I'm gonna buff that out just with the same brush. I feel like this will be a great fall palette with these deeper tones, especially the greens and stuff. Maybe not so much a summer palette, whereas her first one is definitely a great summer palette. All right, so there's the purple all blended out. I do like that. I think that would look pretty on the lid too, the way that those shades blend. And for the inner corner, I think I'm gonna go in with the shade Poppin', which I used yesterday, which is right here. Just kind of tap that in there. And I think I'm done with the eyeshadow. So I'm going to just stop here and let it be. I don't know about this one, but I'm gonna go off camera, do some liner, mascara, and I'll be back with the final look. All right, I'm back with the final look. I don't love it. It's fine. Again, I'm not like a blue eyeshadow person. I don't do a lot of blue. The performance is fine. Like the black blended out really nice, which it's great to have a good blending black. I don't know, this just isn't very me. I don't love how it turned out. I do like how the purples blended, but again, I don't plan on doing like a full purple look with this palette. So for today, I pretty much stuck to that bottom row. I pulled in this purple and then this shimmer up here. So actually I pulled in quite a bit, and I threw in this white on top to brighten it up a little bit. I don't know, I want to do something a little more neutral tomorrow, so I'm thinking there's this like super pretty olive green and then some grungy golds, some other golds. So I feel like I'm gonna go a little more neutral tomorrow, not quite as bright and crazy. So yeah, I'll be back with the third look and my final thoughts on this palette. All right, day 3, here we go. All right, I'm back, day 3, and it's Friday, thank goodness. I'm exhausted. So I think for today, I wanted to feel a little more neutral. I know there aren't really neutral mattes other than black, but I think if I use like the olive green and some golds, it will get kind of neutral vibes. So that's what we're going for today. I do think this would pair well with the original Mikayla palette, so maybe I'll try that in another video another time, but I'm gonna go right in with the olive green, which is the shade Beauty Kills. So this is already like a pretty deep shade, so I don't know what I'm gonna use as like a transition, or if I'll just see if it can kind of blend out on its own. But I do like tones like this a lot. And there's a really great variety of greens in here, from kind of a minty green to like a bright Kelly green to some teal greens. So lots of good green options. Yesterday's blue look was honestly not my favorite. I feel like people noticed it, so I got a lot of comments, but I think it's just because it was a really like big and blue look, not because it was nice. But my students tend to like things that are big and bold and bright, so it's all good. All right, this shade is blending really nice. I may not really have to worry about a transition shade. I know I don't really like purples much, but some of the purple shimmers in here I do really want to try. So we'll see. I think I will like dip into this palette a little bit more after this video, just to give it kind of a fair shot. All right, so there's that first green. I'm going to just use my color switch and like get all the pigment off of the brush, go back in around the edges just to kind of blend it out without making it go like too close to the brow. I don't want this to be a big look today. I feel like this color looks more brown green in the pan, but on the eye it is really green. But again, this is like the green tones that I like, kind of the grungy greens. Not necessarily what I was hoping for my look today, but that's okay. Again, I do think that this is more of like a fall leaning palette in my opinion. But this shade is blending out really well without the use of a transition shade, so that's good. So I think I'm gonna stop there with the first shade. Looks good. And now I'm gonna go into the black, focus that on the outer corner and just pull it through on the crease a little bit. And maybe went a little too heavy on the black. You don't need a lot. It blends out well, but I should have gone a little slower. That's okay. So we are going on vacation, not next week, but the week after, just up north to a cabin for a week. And I would love some book recommendations that are good, like beach reads, like things that are just fun reads that only take a few hours. So if you have any good like beach read recommendations, leave them below because I need some good options. All right, I'm going back in with an empty brush and just buffing out the edges of everything. So that definitely like calmed down the green, but I might have gone just a little too heavy on the black. So a good reminder, this is a really good black, so take your time with it. Go slow and build it up. Love these tones though. These are my kind of tones. Grungy, deep greens. Yes. I know that I want to go gold, but there's also this like antique-y green gold, the shade Insane. I'll swatch a few, and that's really fun. I think I used the shade Grateful before already. There's the shade The Market, which is like a super deep green. I don't know if I want to go that deep today though in terms of shimmers. But then my gold options are more what I'm interested in. So I'm gonna swatch them in order. There's a little row of 3 golds right here. So I'm just gonna do those in order. I think I swatched them the other day, but I gotta do them again. So the first one is like a gold. The second one is kind of a bronzy gold, and the last one is kind of a coppery gold. They're all really pretty. So I don't know, maybe I'll do the kind of antique gold from the top row. That's the shade Insane. Do that more on the outer part of the lid, and then the lighter gold called Glitta kind of in the front. But I think I am gonna cut the crease for this just because these mats are so deep and I want things to pop okay. So I'm gonna cut the crease and I'll be back. I'm going to dip into the shade Insane, and I'm gonna start just with a finger that picks up so beautifully on a finger, and I'm gonna start to tap that out here. So this is a really like grungy, antique-y kind of gold, which is really fun. I don't do a lot with shades like this. I usually go pretty colorful, or if I'm going neutral, I do kind of a classic neutral gold look, not like these antique shades. So just popping this out here. So again, this look feels very fall to me, and it is the middle of summer, but there are no rules in makeup. Do what you want. I'm gonna grab a flat brush and dip into the shade Glitta. I'm trying to pick that up here, get enough of it on my brush, and I'm gonna start to pop that in the front. And get that on here. Follow that cut crease, and then join it up with that other shimmer. All right, what do we think? Okay, I think for me, these golds feel a little out of place in this palette. Like they go with these shades, but I don't really think they pair well with like the purples or the blues, just the type of golds that these are. Maybe if there was more of like a champagne-y gold, but I don't know. Maybe it's just me that I can't imagine pairing these golds with anything other like than this olive shade. All right, so there's the 2 golds blended together. I do like both of these golds. Again, I don't know how like well fit in they are with this palette, but I'm not a makeup artist. Just from like my perspective, I don't know that they're shades that I will pair with much in this palette, but that's okay. I do like the grungy vibes of this look, and I think I'm gonna stop there on the lid and go off camera, do my face. I'll be back to finish up with the shadows. I'm back with all my face products on, ready to dip back into eyeshadow. So I'm gonna basically do the same as what I did on the lid. I'm gonna start with that olive green Beauty Kills, and then I'll build in a little black as I go. So just grabbing that on a brush, taking that under that lower lash. I'm gonna bring that all the way through, build it up a decent amount. I feel like I always try to go pretty big on the lower lash line, and then by the end of the look, it just feels like half of it's disappeared. So I think I'm gonna try to build it up like a little more than I normally would and see how that goes. So I know it kind of looks like a lot. I'm gonna leave it as is for now. I'm gonna dip into the black, tap it off a lot, and I'm really just gonna focus that out here. I'm gonna try to get nice up and close. Just focus the black right on the outer part and connect it into the, I'm not gonna drag the black through very much, just focusing it right out here. All right, so here is buffed out, here is not. So I don't know if you can see that on camera. In person, it definitely makes a difference. Did I achieve the subtle look I was going for? No? I do really like this so far. The grungy feel is definitely more me compared to the first 2 looks. Inner corner. So I think I'm gonna go into the shade Poppin', which is right here. A white, but it has some different reflect in it. So let's see how that works. Like from some angles it looks kind of pinkish. When I swatched on my hand, it almost has a green tinge to it. Putting it here, I see kind of the green. So we're just gonna pop a little bit of that in there. I'm not gonna go too crazy with the inner corner highlight today. So I think I'm gonna stop there with the eyeshadows. I'm gonna go do some eyeliner, mascara, find a lip, and I'll be back with the look and my final thoughts on this palette. All right, I'm back with the final look. What do we think? This is definitely more a me look. Probably my favorite of the 3 that I've done with this palette so far. So again, here we have the palette. It is beautiful. I was obviously really drawn to the greens. Performance-wise, it performs beautifully. The mattes are great. The shimmers are pretty. I want to play around with some of the purples and kind of unique shades to see how I feel about those. I mean, it's not my favorite shimmer formula by any means, but it's nice. Did I need this? No, you don't need anything. I don't need anything. It is beautiful though. It's still kind of up for debate which of the two I prefer. So just a reminder of what the first palette was. Very colorful, very fun, lots of bright colors, a lot of fun like poppy pastels. So this one feels very spring and summer, whereas this one to me gives more like fall vibes. I would like to pair these together because I think like the greens would pair well, maybe some purples would pair well. I like that there's more neutrals in this one that could maybe pair with some of the golds in this palette. So I'll definitely have to try to play with them together and see how that works. But overall, this is a beautiful palette. I am glad that I skipped out on the rest of the collection. I do think I'm gonna get a good amount of use out of this, especially as it gets to the fall. And I do feel like if I had just had like the top 3 rows, like cover up those, like that would be a beautiful 18 pan palette. Just right there. We'll see what I get out of this. I will try to do a purple look sometime soon. We'll see. But thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon.